Ils reviennent, les aliens oreilles dévoreurs d'humains bruyants sont de retour dans Sans un bruit 2 et ils ont pris leur temps. On ne va pas vous mentir, les images de cette première et les interviews que vous allez bientôt voir datent du monde d'avant. Sans un bruit 2 aurait dû sortir en mars 2020, mais la petite bête Covid a fait patienter les grosses bestioles d'outre-espace 1 an et 3 mois de plus. Peu importe, le film est là et son triomphe en salle aux États-Unis, où le film sorti depuis 2 semaines dépasse les 100 millions de dollars de recettes, prouve que son public a su attendre. Il fallait s'y attendre puisque le premier film, réalisé par l'acteur John Krasinski avec son épouse Emily Blunt en vedette, a remporté plus de 340 millions de dollars de recettes dans le monde, un chiffre énorme pour un film d'horreur au budget moyen. L'épisode 2 commence avant l'épisode 1 avec en ouverture un retour sur le premier jour de l'arrivée des esgourdes tueuses d'outre-espace et continue là où le premier se terminait. On est dans une suite très proche du premier qui devrait contenter les fans de l'original, un épisode 2 à la mise en scène convaincante. Krasinski est de plus en plus intéressant là-dessus et avec une Emily Blunt toujours aussi parfaite en mère combat. Nous avons rencontré le couple star pour discuter de ce second Sans un bruit en commençant par une question essentielle. Si. Emily, do you know the French title of the movie?
No.
Oh, come on.
Come on, say it.
Sans un bruit.
Sans
Un bruit.
un bruit. Without noise?
Not a sound.
Not a sound.
Sans un bruit.
Sans un bruit.
And do you know how they call the number 2?
Sans un bruit de.
I had told the studio I didn't want to do a sequel, and what opened it up for me was the idea of making Millie the lead character. And I think when Millie became the lead character, she allowed me to use all the same themes that I was using in the first one. So if the first one is about parenthood and it's a love letter to my children, my real children, then there's that promise that parents make, which is, if you stay with me, I can keep you safe forever. And once that promise is inevitably broken, every parent knows that it will be broken. That's what growing up is. That's what adolescence is. And so I actually realized there's a way to make these one giant movie, that they just have 2 parts. And I remember Emily, I was always going to call it part 2, but it wasn't until Emily, who reads books constantly, she said, it's funny, I don't see this as a sequel. I see it as the second book in a series. And I thought, wow, that's great. We can call it part 2 now.
You're doing something that is very difficult in a sequel. It's going back directly where we left it. So what does that mean for you guys? You have to get back into the spirit?
Yeah, we did, but we fell back into step with each other very easily, very naturally. I mean, the kids we have in this movie are just incredibly professional, brilliant actors, and so there was no wrestling yourself back into the zone. I mean, I remember that first day we were back in the basement. It's kind of at the beginning of the opening, after you flash back, and I go, let's go. And we're in the basement, and it was so weird being back there. It was just surreal.
You're doing a terrific job in Geography of Action. Just give me how you approach that.
A huge influence was Children of Men. I think that movie, at least for the opening and all those action scenes, what I think they did in Children of Men was they placed the camera with the characters so you actually felt more terror. So I just wanted to take that to the next level or do something new with it, which is kind of extend those moments and extend that time together. I remember that time, that's the first take in the car with Emily. It's this crazy robot arm actually from Germany. You had to rehearse it so many times because the camera, you had to program where it would go. You can't move the camera mid-shot. You have to just tell it where it's going. And one of my favorite things, which is sort of a spoiler alert, but at the very end of that shot, the camera broke and started, because it broke, it had nothing holding it back, so it slowly pushed forward in the car, and it made a perfect close-up of Emily. And the guys were standing next to me like, oh no, it broke. And I was like, this is the best shot I've ever seen. So it's that thing of leaving the door open to the unexpected is where you get the best product.
There are people out there worth saving.
The success of the first one, how do you explain it? Why are we so fascinated by apocalyptic movies?
Well, I think we like seeing really normal people thrust into extraordinary situations and having to stand up and act and do something incredibly courageous. But I think with Quiet Place, what I realize is that there's nothing superficial about it. It has very deep themes running through it. This one too. Themes of family, of fractured community, of how far you'd go for your children, how far you'd go to extend your hand to your neighbor. So we were always quite stunned by the deep metaphorical takes people would have for the first film. And I think that what's interesting is in this setting of speaking to all of you guys, how varied the questions are. And that's always a good sign to me. It's a sign of a film with depth, that people have taken something different away.
You don't know, do you? I do.
Sans un bruit 2 arrive sur les écrans français ce 16 juin.